Alright, this is the resource video for using your Google Sheets to collect and sort your puzzle cube data. So we're going to go over that today. Apparently today is also Gertrude Jekyll's 174th birthday. So what we're going to do is, first thing, we're going to open up our Google Sheet. So you can find that in one of two places. You'll start by going to your Google Apps and either going to Drive or Sheets. I'm going to go to Sheets. Now remember, you should have already made a copy of this, so you don't want to go to the link that you'll find on Converge, but you do want to go to the link you'll find in Google Drive. Okay, here's my sample data sheet. You should be looking for your data sheet with your name on it. Over here on the left, on our data sheet, we have names of the people who have solved the puzzle. We have which trial it was, whether it was their first or second time, whether they're an adult or a student, and then of course how long it took them to solve the puzzle. Now, if you notice here, the first thing we need to do is change the way our times are entered. When I entered my times, I entered them in, let's see, for example here, row 5, we have 0.21, that represents 21 seconds, which is not really an accurate way to put that time in. And in row 2, we have 6:21, which you notice that shows up as a time, not as a minutes and seconds. So we're going to have to change this. Here we have 2 that are entered correctly. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to change the way this is entered. So instead of 6:21, this is going to become 0:6:21. Now, notice that doesn't look quite right, does it? So what we need to do is, for this entire column, we're going to go in here and we're going to change our format from its current, which is time, to duration, and we'll show you how to do that. Before we change that format to duration, we do need to go through and edit these times to accurately reflect this format here. So I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to go down this column, and for example, I'll do these next two, and then I'll finish out the column. This is 21 seconds, so that's going to be 0:0:21. And I go down here, and then here this is 51 seconds, so that's going to be 0:0:51. And then we come down here, this will be 0:03:02. And so forth. So I'm going to keep going down this column, and anywhere you have something like this where it says 2.5, that's really 2 minutes 5 seconds, so you want to edit that accordingly. I'm going to pause the video while I do this, and then I'll show you my data when I finish that up. Okay, here we are. I finished changing my time formats. You notice that I have the same times I had before, only now I've changed it to the hours, minutes, seconds format. Okay, the last thing we want to do on this column is we're going to click the top of the column. This is D. Notice the entire column gets highlighted with this blue box. Then we're going to go up here to the Format tab on our menu. We're going to select Number. Then over here under Number, we're going to go down to the bottom and make sure this is on Duration. If it's not on Duration, we'll change that to Duration. So there we go. And we notice now all of our data has the same duration. Okay, now that we have our time accurately represented as hours, minutes, and seconds, we're going to start doing some sort of our data. Now right now we have our adults and students all mixed together. We're going to want to separate that out into our adults and then students. If you remember our puzzle design brief, we were estimating the average time for an adult as compared to the average time for a student. To do that, we're going to click the top of column C. It highlights. We're going to right click, and we're going to go down here and we're going to sort our sheet A to Z. That'll put should put the adults at the top and the students at the bottom. Okay, there we go. Now you want to make sure, let me show you that again, that when you click this you choose Sort Sheet. And what that'll do is it will sort everything. And that way your time and the name and your notes stay with the other bits of your data. Okay, we have our adults at the top, students at the bottom. And just to kind of help myself out, I'm going to put a couple, or I'm going to put one blank row in between my last adult and my first student. To do that, I'm going to click on row 10. Notice it highlights. Then I'm going to right click and this menu comes up, and I'm going to do insert one below. What that does is it inserts a blank row below. Just moves everything else down. And I'm also going to kind of color this in so that visually I can see where are the adults, where are the students in my selection. So we're going to do that. Grab that, and we're going to color it. And here. Let's see if we can do that a little better. We want to probably some trouble. So maybe what I'll do is we'll highlight some of these columns and see if we can do that. There we go. So you might need to drag and highlight all of those to shade them. Oh, I'm choosing the wrong shading option. That's why. Okay, so the error I made here, no, we're back to where we were, was here this is text color, and you want to make sure you're using fill color. And that will allow you to come in here and put a nice break in between your adult data and your student data. Okay, now that we have sorted that, we probably want to do at least one more sort, and we'll use that later. But the next sort that we're going to want to use is, you notice here some of these adults, this is their second trial, and some of them it's their first trial. And we want to be able to compare the first to the second trials later on. For right now, we're just going to sort that, and then we'll leave it and we'll use that data later. But similar to the first time, only this time instead of highlighting an entire column, we're going to click, hold down, and highlight just this range. The range is going to be from here over to here. And so if you look closely, you notice our first cell here is surrounded by a blue box. And over here we got a tiny little blue square, and that shows the bottom corner of our selection. Okay, now once we got that selected, we're going to sort that range. So if we right click here, we're going to find a sort range option within our menu. Now, we actually don't want to sort by column A. We want to sort by which trial it is. And if we look here, it's a little bit grayed out. We'll see that's column B. So we're going to go to column B. Here's the interesting thing. It says A to Z, but since we have numbers, it's going to automatically default to numeric. So we can just leave it as it is, select column B, and sort. Now if we come back here, we notice our data has rearranged, and we have our data with second trials at the bottom, or data with the first trial at the top. That's going to make things a little bit easier to use later on. Alright, and we're going to really quick, we're going to do that down here. Once again, we're going to click in our first cell for student data, and we're going to highlight all the way over here, including the notes. Make sure we get everything. First cell is highlighted. The bottom quarter of our range selection has a blue square. We're going to right click and scroll down here and select sort range. Column B, and sort. Okay, and we now have our data sorted by students, adults, first trial, second trial. We're doing pretty good here. So one of the next things we want to do is we want to calculate a mean. And to do that, we're going to use a formula in Excel. And that's probably as far as we're going to get with this video today. But once you have your data sorted by students, adults, and by first to second trial, we're going to calculate a mean. Now, a mean is the average. So there's a couple ways we can do this. Over here, I'm going to, in this cell, and then again, I'll do something similar down here, is I'm going to just type in mean time for average time. And then maybe I'll highlight that and just kind of set it off, make the text a little bigger so I can see that we've got something important down here. Now, over here we're going to write a formula. So a formula in Excel will allow us to take a bunch of data and it will automatically calculate it for us. Okay, so while we're going to use the word mean here because that's the way we would usually talk about data in Sheets, in Google Sheets or in Excel, that's going to be a formula called average. So when we click here, we're going to type equals. Equals tells it that it's going to solve a equation for us, and then we're going to type the word average. And you notice it pops up average. Now we need to tell it what it needs to average for us. So we're going to use our shift key and type in opening parentheses. And then before we go any farther, we want to average all our times. We want to figure out what the average time is. So we're going to click here in the first cell, and you see these are starting to hold down. As I'm doing this, I'm holding my mouse button down. That allows me to drag up and down. Now, I only want my adult data for this one. There. Now, to finish the formula, I need to close my parentheses. So if you look here, we have equals average. We have the D2, so that's column D, row 2, all the way down through column D, row 10. So those are the numbers we're going to average. And then we can click enter. And it gives us our average time. So in this set of data, the average time for an adult, or the mean, is 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Now, that's an important number. So this is something where you might go back and say, okay, that's an important number. I'm going to highlight it. And you might also come in here and say, let's make these cells stand out. So we're going to put a little fill color in there. Nice bright yellow. Mean time. There's that. Now, we're going to do some other things with this sheet later on. But for now, we're going to go down here and we're going to calculate mean time as well for our students. So let's put that in the same spot here, down the bottom right hand corner of our data. We're going to put mean time and bold and increase the font size here a little bit. Looks like I missed a little bit, so let's make sure we get all of that. There we go. Yep. And then over here, we're going to write that formula that we put into the top, which is equals average and open parentheses using your shift key and the number 9 button. And then we're going to highlight all of the times for our adult data, starting here in D12 and all the way down to D22. So we're going to click in D12, hold, drag down, highlight all that data. Close our parentheses and hit enter. Okay, and there's our mean time for students. Now, we're going to take a second here and get a little bigger. Thing we can do here, you notice mean time is clipped off a little bit. We can click and we make column F just a little wider. And then we're going to highlight both these cells and fill color so they stand out. There we go. All right, so I think that's a good bit of data sorting for the day. At this point, if you've been keeping up, we should have all of our data sorted into a group of adults, a group of students. We should have it sorted into trial 1 and trial 2. We'll compare those in a later video. And we also have calculated the average or mean time for adults, which in this case is 3:15, and students, which is 3:31.